O people of faith and people of none, hear the words of the Lord from the book of Romans chapter 10 and beginning at verse 13 through to verse 17. For whoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? And how shall they preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who preach the gospel of peace, who bring glad tidings of good things. But they have not all obeyed the gospel. For Isaiah says, Lord, who has believed our report? So then, faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. I don't know about you, but I believe that one of the best ways of serving God is to testify to his goodness, to acknowledge him in what he has done for us and what he does for us daily. On Monday of this week, I went to Liverpool on the Wirral Peninsula of the UK. It's the city I was born in, but I only ever lived there for 3 weeks when I was in an incubator. And I was brought up across the Mersey, could say a ferry ride across the Mersey from Liverpool. And I lived across the Mersey from Liverpool until I was almost 17. So Liverpool is special to me, but it's always been a slightly difficult place to go to, and particularly since my sister passed away in September of last year, 9/11 as it happens, and it's really been a difficult place for me to go to because all my life, my sister was older than me by about 10.5 years, and all my life we'd been to Liverpool together, and it just really doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem fair going to Liverpool without my sister. And I got into a real mess on Monday, both before I left for Liverpool and when I got there, but the way that God intervened, and it was most definitely God that intervened, that I am here now testifying to his goodness. I woke up in the morning and planning to go to Liverpool, and for some reason, I think it was something somebody said on Twitter, or something that I read or heard or thought, it doesn't really matter, but I burst into tears for my sister. She knew the Lord, and she is now with the Lord, but it's just difficult sometimes to contemplate the enormity of the loss that I feel. And so I went off to Liverpool and reached Liverpool and began to sort of walk around the shopping area of Liverpool, and began to feel that I'd made a big mistake by actually coming to Liverpool on Monday, that I really shouldn't have come. But God had other ideas, and he stepped in. Cutting a very long story quite short, I almost burst into tears in the middle of Liverpool as I opened up to a, a believing friend of mine on Facebook, and I began just walking around almost in a daze, almost not quite knowing where I was. Went up a few different side roads and ended up actually not knowing geographically where I was. But I'd been brought to a standstill. I'd been sidelined, sort of shunted into the sidings almost by God, so that He could then take me to where He wanted me to be. Many of you will know Liverpool, some of you will know of Liverpool, but it's a big, bustling, busy, noisy city. And I was walking around thinking to myself and crying out to God at the same time, thinking, where am I going to find somewhere quiet where I can just either cry my eyes out or just seek peace? And I ended up, somehow or another, on the outskirts of Liverpool's Chinatown, and found myself, and as I was walking along, I thought, well, I need this place to be quiet. I need a good Christian bookshop, and there's not that many of them in Liverpool. The one that I did know about doesn't open on a Monday. And I was thinking also that I just needed to get a good quality jacket potato, because it was lunchtime and I was hungry and hadn't had breakfast, which I probably should have done. But God intervened, and I ended up very near the Liverpool Anglican Cathedral. I'm coming up to 56 in a couple of months' time, but I'd never actually been inside Liverpool's Anglican Cathedral. For the first 17 years of my life, I lived just across the Mersey, as I say, and I could see the two cathedrals from my bedroom window, the Anglican Cathedral and the Catholic Cathedral in Liverpool, but I'd never actually been in. And God led me to those still and quiet waters of the Anglican Cathedral in Liverpool. He led me to a Christian bookshop, and I got a book that I really sort of wanted and will be using to remind me of my New Testament Greek studies. And I ended up in the one of the cafes at the cathedral and had a really good jacket potato. So from a time of massive lows, almost life-threatening lows, time of not knowing almost not knowing who I was, and certainly not knowing where I was going, but God did. God knows our problems. God has the answers for our problems even before we realise we have a problem. And He is just waiting for us to call out to Him, and He will lead us. He will show us the way. Sometimes He does indeed bring us to a standstill, so that we can do nothing of ourselves. We can only cry out to God, and then He will show us the way. And I spent some time in the cathedral and looked around and did some photography and looked at a photographic exhibition that happened to be on at the cathedral that day. and came out feeling so much better than I had done when I went in. And the things that I set out when I set out to Liverpool, I had specific goals in mind that looked as though they were going to be impossible to achieve. But every single one of those goals that I'd set myself, God brought to fruition. Praise the name of the Lord our God. Oh, praise his name for evermore. For endless days I will sing your praise. O God our Lord. Amen.